produces more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust.
And rockets like Falcon 9 don't use all that thrust just to go straight up. Early in flight, Falcon 9 performs a gravity turn, a smooth pitch maneuver that tilts the rocket sideways to build up horizontal velocity. You may hear this call at about 10 seconds into launch as the vehicle is pitching downrange. Once the first stage completes its portion of the mission, it shuts down and separates.
A stage rocket like Falcon 9 sheds the booster to eliminate weight and uncover the Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2. To reach orbit, the vehicle needs to go fast, hitting an orbital velocity of about 28,000 kilometers an hour just to keep from falling back to Earth due to gravity. That's fast enough to lap the Earth in about 90 minutes.
And as we mentioned earlier, after stage separation, today's booster will be landing at Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, returning to Earth for its third time. The second stage takes over from there, powered by a single Merlin vacuum engine, also known as the MVac. With its extended nozzle and optimized design, the MVac drives maximum performance, producing 220,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space. And getting to space is the first step to building our multi-planetary future. At the top of Falcon 9 today, the crew is sitting inside Dragon Endeavour. There are currently 5 Dragon spacecraft supporting human spaceflight missions: Endeavour, Resilience, Endurance, Freedom, and our 5th and final Dragon, Grace, which just launched the Axiom 4 mission last month. Designed with safety as the highest priority, Dragon is capable of carrying up to 7 passengers to and from Earth orbit.
And Dragon has 16 Draco thrusters that can be used in space to help navigate the spacecraft to its destination, which of course is the International Space Station. And those thrusters providing 90 pounds of force. And that doesn't include the 8 Super Draco thrusters used for and aboard, which are no longer active once the crew is in orbit.
To date, Dragon has been to orbit 53 times, including 48 trips to the International Space Station and 18 human spaceflight missions. And as we mentioned earlier, today's Dragon, Endeavour, has been pretty busy, having also flown NASA's Crew-2 mission, Axiom 1, and NASA's Crew-6 and Crew-8 missions. Overall for the Dragon fleet, this will be Dragon's 49th visit to the space station and its 19th human spaceflight mission overall, and the 5th Dragon flight just this year. Dragon is the first private spacecraft to take humans to the orbiting lab, having flown 300,000 pounds of cargo and more than 1,000 experiments to space, as well as 70 crew members representing 20 countries. Our versatile Dragon spacecraft can autonomously dock with the International Space Station when outfitted with a docking adapter, which is just how it's configured for today's flight. And when it's not going to the space station and it's in free flyer mode, the docking adapter can be swapped out for a cupola, as it was back during the Inspiration 4 mission. And another option we have is the Skywalker hardware, which supports extravehicular activities or spacewalks, as we did during the Polaris Dawn mission. And here's some interesting trivia. There has been a Dragon in space for 1,358 consecutive days since Crew 3.
And that's an impressive stat, too. And with T-minus 0...
Stage 2 LOX load has started.
And with T-minus 0 coming up in just about a little more than 18 or 16 minutes or so from now, our team's continuing to do a series of system checks to ensure Dragon.
Dragon SpaceX 4 status update. Dragon and Falcon 9 are healthy, and we continue to load propellant. Weather is still our watch item. We are seeing some development in the area, so this is going to come down to a matter of time. We're going to keep an eye on it and continue marching towards T0, and we'll see if we manage to thread the clouds today.
Okay, Dragon copies. We've got a healthy rocket, healthy Dragon. Weather is continuing to develop. We'll keep going until we can't.
And great communications there between the team on the ground and with Crew-11 on board. And that's exactly what we're keeping an eye on, is not only the tanking of the rocket and that procedures, but also today's weather. And you heard that update right there. So to continue with the updates and kind of bring us up to speed on what's been going on, let's toss it to our teammate and Ronnie.
Thanks so much, Joseph. I can give you a little bit more color than we just heard, but obviously the important things we've heard are that we are still on track for an on-time liftoff today, but we're monitoring lots of different factors as we get closer to liftoff. If everything goes as expected, this is also going to be our last landing at LZ-1 today. So lots of different launch pads, landing sites, staging areas, lots of things in play. But the best news is that both Dragon and Falcon 9 continue to be healthy. You heard us wrap up Stage 2 RP1 loading just after T-minus 20 minutes, and Stage 2 liquid oxygen will begin here at about, or has begun already, excuse me. We've also heard that call out that the launch escape system is armed. Of course, the launch escape system, which we discussed in more detail yesterday, is designed to propel Dragon away from Falcon 9 in the unlikely event of an emergency during launch. We've also heard from the Eastern Range, which is monitoring keep-out zones among other key flight requirements today. They're continuing to report no issues, and they are go to support today's launch, weather depending. So again, as you just heard, weather is a watch item. We're now tracking a 60% chance of violation at our target liftoff time, with isolated showers in the staging area and some clouds building right over the launch pad. You are actually seeing them continue to grow on your screen right now. For now, though, we are go for the 6th mission of Dragon Endeavour, and I want to hand it back over to Sandra for a status update from Houston. Sandra?
Thanks, Ronnie. Back here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, teams are continuing to work around the clock to monitor activities aboard the orbital outpost. Leading the team inside the room today is NASA Flight Director Anthony Varia. The team in Mission Control Houston, the team in Hawthorne, and the astronauts aboard the space station will track the autonomous docking of Dragon Endeavour when they enter joint operations. This will happen when the spacecraft enters the approach ellipsoid, which is the invisible boundary, stretching 4 by 2 by 2 kilometers that helps us monitor all arriving and departing spacecraft. It's essentially the neighborhood of the International Space Station. Once docked, crew members in both Dragon and aboard the International Space Station will perform a series of leak checks, then work to open the spacecraft's hatch for Crew-11 to float into the space station and begin their stay. We anticipate that the hatch will be opened about an hour and a half after docking occurs, and when they enter the orbital outpost, Crew-11 will be greeted by the rest of their Expedition 73 crew and will come together for some opening remarks. For now, that's going to be all for us today here in Mission Control as the anticipation builds for launch in less than 13 minutes now. So how's it looking on the Space Coast, Daryl?
Well, Sandra, we wish it was looking better. We've just had a downgrade in the weather forecast from 60% go to only 40% go. The launch weather officer informing us that conditions are ripe, and we have even seen the development of cumulus clouds in the area, some that could trigger lightning if a rocket went through them. So this is a very high watch item at this moment, Nick.
Yeah, they're watching it to the, everybody is focused on crew safety at this point, making sure that we make the right call. But there's a chance, and I'll stay positive.
You've been positive. I appreciate that about you. You've done that throughout the broadcast. Here's a look from our helicopter flying over the spaceport right now. And this is the formation of the clouds that is a concern because it is so humid out right now. And we've got a sea breeze that is flowing over the warm land. It is just creating this convection around the spaceport. In fact, we are also expecting to go into a phase 1 lightning alert, which I hate to say it, but just before we scrubbed yesterday, Dick, that phase 1 lightning alert went into effect. So things are starting to stack up against us weather-wise. But nonetheless, it's at this point, because this is a fully automated fueling sequence, it behooves us to just continue to march to see if anything might just clear at the end.
Yeah, so there's been nothing that happened up to this point to stop the countdown. So proceed to T-0, and if the timing works out and the weather hasn't built to a significant enough level and it's safe to go, then let's go.
Absolutely, and it is an instantaneous window. So we are launching at 11:43 and 42 seconds. So it is literally the weather at that second that matters. And that's where we hope to see some type of positivity in that moment. But it's certainly something that all eyes are on around the Space Coast to see if this rocket is going to go today. In just about 20 seconds, we are going to hear from Zena Cardman, and she's going to say some words, Nick. She has some moving things to say.
Yeah, Zena is an amazing person, and watching her, along with Stephanie.
Dragon SpaceX confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
You can.
SpaceX Dragon displays are configured for launch. To our family, friends, all who support us, at SpaceX, NASA, JAXA, Roscosmos, thank you. Spasiba, arigato gozaimasu. For this freedom to explore, resilience to endure, may grace fly alongside this endeavor.
Crew-11, from all of us on the ground, we've enjoyed working with you in preparation for your mission. We look forward to continuing to do so in flight. Good luck. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and Zena, hitting the tone I would expect her to do. She is the consummate professional. Big message of thank you.
Yeah. The gratitude, the team focus, freedom, resilience. These are big themes. These are things that are important to her, and some great words from her. Let's send it now back out to our commentary team for the final minutes of Countdown. Joseph and Samya, take it away.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Nick. And that was beautiful what Zena had to say and reflecting on family and friends, but also that great shot you saw in that 2-box. That was from the International Space Station, that view as the space station actually going right over Florida and the Cape. So it's not just those on the ground that are excited. It's their teammates aboard the orbiting laboratory as well. Well, we're closing in on launch, 8.5 minutes away. It'll be about a 9-minute ride to orbit, which is around the time of the second stage cutoff. Dragon and the second stage will continue to coast for a few minutes after that, and then prior to separation. You'll be hearing some performance calls as we get into the final countdown and then after liftoff. These are SpaceX flight controllers reporting on trajectory, speed, booster, and performance, and the key milestones, but there are some other calls that you'll hear the crew make as well after liftoff. The crew will report out a few number and letter combinations, which mark different abort zones throughout the flight uphill and up the eastern seaboard. The first two, 1A and 1B, those are abort modes available while the first stage is firing. Now, the second are 2A through 2E. Those will come into play once the second stage kicks in, and then though we'll only hear the 2A call out from the team. Diverting a little bit from that naming system, you'll also hear the call Shannon, which refers to Shannon, Ireland. This call means the crew could target off the coast of Ireland if they needed to abort late in that second stage burn. You'll hear these different calls throughout the flight uphill, along with key performance callouts from the guidance, navigation, and control officers, and also the propulsion lead. So we're closing in on T-minus now 7 minutes, and we continue to keep an eye on the weather.
One of the next callouts we're listening for is that stage 1 engine chill has started. That's coming up in just a few seconds. And that is a key process that prepares the engines for flight.
Engine chill has started.
Right on time. Right now, propellant in the tanks is isolated from the engines, but we'll open the engine pre-valves and start trickling some liquid oxygen through the Merlin engine pumps, chilling the engines for the start sequence. We do this because the super chilled and densified liquid oxygen is really, really cold, and we use this process to bring the engine hardware down to a cooler temperature before flowing all of the LOX and propellant into it during flight. At liftoff, Falcon 9 is consuming 700 gallons of fuel per second, so engine chill helps us to prevent thermal shock and ensures nominal engine performance. Shortly after, we should also hear the call out for stage 1 RP1.
Fuel load complete.
Right on time.
So now that engine chill is underway, we're looking ahead to the call out that RP1 load is complete, which just occurred a moment ago, and again, prevents that thermal shock. You got to stretch before you can start running. And RP1 is densified kerosene or rocket fuel that will propel the crew into orbit. And all of that RP1 is now about to be fully loaded into the rocket, since we're previously heard that the second stage is completed, or about to be completed here in just a couple moments. And then while we're still loading liquid oxygen on that first stage and second stages. This is the oxidizer that is needed to combine with the densified kerosene that just finished up loading. The RP1 liquid propellant needs an oxidizer to combine with everything in order to ignite. Coming up at the 5-minute mark, we'll hear the call for Dragon to configure for terminal count and then transition over to internal power. And that should be happening in about a little less than 30 seconds from now as we continue to close in on that T-0 mark.
So next up in the countdown, the transporter erector, or TE, will begin to retract from Falcon 9. That is the large truss structure you see there standing next to the rocket. It's hinged at the base and connected to the launch mount beneath the first stage. First, the clamps around the second stage will begin to
Falcon 9
open.
tanks are pressing for strong back retract.
And we're hearing good callouts.
Dragon is in, configure for terminal count.
And we're continuing to hear great callouts over the nets. Then the TE will begin to pivot back, slowly swinging away from the rocket, and it will reach full recline in just about a minute.
Strong back retract has started.
And we are just beginning that strong back retraction process. It's called the strong back. It's also called the TE or transport director. Same structure, different name. The TE does a lot more than just lean. It rolls Falcon 9 out to the pad, raises it vertical, and stays connected through the final seconds. It provides fuel, power, telemetry, and command connections between ground systems and the rocket. Those clamps at the top help stabilize the second stage during fueling, and they also help prevent movement in high winds. And once they open, which you can see on your screen, they are slowly pulling away. And once they open fully, the rocket is fully free at the top.
Propellant continues to be loaded late here in the countdown as we're approaching 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We're continuing to keep an eye on the weather, and that's going to be the biggest thing as everything continues to march towards that liftoff timeline. But you can see there the strong back starting to move ever so slowly away from the rocket. The clamp arms are open, and you also see those white clouds starting to billow off the rocket itself. Those are perfectly normal as it's the coolness of the propellant on board is mixing with that warm Florida air, and that's what causes that boil off, and that you heard Nick talk about it earlier when you have that steam come off the rocket, so it looks like a lot of clouds billowing off it as well. But approaching the T-minus 3 minute mark, and that's when
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
And that's what I was about to say, is that you're going to hear that liquid oxygen load be complete, so everything is primed and pretty much ready to go. And you'll see, again, those white clouds of vapor and a great view of the entire rocket as we continue to build closer to launch. And, of course, liquid oxygen, super chilled, so a little bit...
terminal count and on internal power.
Boils off in that warm Florida air. And now, load complete, we're on internal power. And we're also going to hear gas closeouts are going to start to begin as well. And then everything will get vented overboard through the umbilicals and strong back, and you may hear some of that venting noise come in soon.
So LOX is still loading for approximately another 20 seconds on stage 2, and once that is complete, we'll vent down the TE, which will produce a white cloud off the side of the rocket, which is normal and expected, just as Joseph had mentioned. And once LOX load is fully complete, that will mean that there are 1 million pounds of propellant loaded onto Falcon 9, which will be RP1 and liquid oxygen. So that call out coming up.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
Right there.
So we just heard that confirmation of stage 2 liquid oxygen now complete, as we are now 1 minute and 50 seconds away from launch. We'll also hear that the gas closeouts have started, so we can expect loud venting.
Is an auto idle.
You heard the call for auto idle. That puts the rocket in a state that the flight computers understand before it takes over, making sure that transition to the final countdown is smooth and that all flight computers on board are in sync.
Ground gas closeouts, expect loud venting.
Configured for launch, and there's the closeouts we've been talking about and the venting that will be shortly followed. One minute and 10 seconds to liftoff of NASA SpaceX Crew-11.
FTS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Dragon is in countdown.
Flight computers switching to countdown mode now.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX, Dragon, go for launch.
Seconds. Fifteen seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Ignition's full power and liftoff. Go Thomas, go NASA, go through 11.
Together we rise as NASA Space SpaceX Crew-11 heads up to the International Space Station.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
1.7 million pounds
Stage
of
1
thrust.
propulsion is nominal.
Propelling Falcon 9 as the vehicle pitching downrange and making its way up the East Coast, and will soon join Expedition 73 aboard the orbiting laboratory. So far, getting good callouts on that first stage performance.
We are now T plus 35 seconds into the Crew-11 mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 engines
Stage 1 throttle down.
Are throttling down to help
Power and telemetry are nominal.
To help pass through the period of max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle during ascent.
Max Q.
We just had max Q right there.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
1 minute 9 seconds into what is a little bit more less than a 9-minute flight uphill as Dragon continuing.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy. 1 Bravo.
And that 1 Bravo, again, that's the abort zone, that last abort zone for stage 1 if necessary. The crew already pulling over 2 Gs. And next, we're going to have a couple of events happen in rapid succession. We'll be getting ready for the second stage to warm up and have the second stage MVAC chill. And then we'll also have MECA, or main engine cutoff, where the 9 engines on the first stage will cut off ahead of the first and second stages. Will then be separating from one another. And then the single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite and continue to carry Crew-11 to orbit, while the first stage begins its journey back to Earth, as we're now 1 minute and 56 seconds into today's flight.
The 9 Merlin engines are starting to throttle down and are standing by for MECA, or main engine cutoff.
MVAC chill has started.
And we just heard that call out for MVAC chill. And coming up in under like 20 seconds, we have 5 events happening back to back. MECA,
Stage 1 throttle down.
Stage separation, stage 1 flip, SES1, and the start of boost back burn. It's going to be pretty quick, so keep a close eye on the action and the mission event
Main engine cutoff.
tracker at the bottom of your screen.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage 2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed.
2 Alpha. MVAC ignition.
And there you see stage 1 pulling away, ignition of the lone Merlin vacuum engine for stage 2. And again, those happening in quick succession as we continue to get great views of that Florida coastline and the eastern seaboard there, as Crew-11 continuing its path to orbit, now approaching 3 minutes into today's flight. Still a little ways to go, about 6 minutes left, as they continue to climb their way up and eventually track down the International Space Station. And there, you see the Merlin vacuum engine, the second stage on the right-hand side, and great views of the first stage that's making its return to Earth on the left. About 5.5 minutes of powered flight remaining as we continue to monitor the progress of both vehicles, stage 2 and Crew-11, making the climb uphill, and stage 1 looking to land again at landing zone 1, the last landing at that location for this Falcon 9 booster.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Dragon copy.
We're continuing to hear great callouts over the nets that both Dragon and Falcon are right on track to orbit. So the first stage booster is now on its way to landing zone 1, and we just saw those grid fins open up on the left-hand side of your screen. The first stage has a couple events ahead of its landing. Stage 1 will start its entry burn, which will be the second of 3 burns to return the booster a few miles from its launch site at landing zone 1. During this entry burn, Falcon 9 will use its engines to pump the brakes to slow the vehicle down before it reaches the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And if you didn't know, Falcon 9 has a complex heat shield that is designed to protect the engines and the vehicle from all that combined thermal and aerodynamic loading during max entry Q, which is the moment of max stress on the vehicle during entry. And that will be followed by a landing burn. And this burn will last for about...
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Continuing to hear good callouts.
Great performance calls continue as we're now 5 minutes into today's flight. Still about 8.5 to go. A little bit more than that as the second stage continuing to perform nominally on the right-hand side. 2,400 meters per second. Crew-11 cruising into the upper echelons of the Earth's atmosphere while we continue to monitor the second stage on that left-hand side. And we'll also get continued guidance and navigation call-outs from the control officers here in SpaceX. Dragon is pointed in the right direction and continuing its flight. And again, that second stage going to continue firing until close to that 9-minute mark into flight and accelerating Dragon to more than 17,000 miles per hour and placing the crew in orbit. And you'll hear good orbital insertion would be that call out. There's the single Merlin vacuum engine that can produce over 220,000
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
pounds of thrust on that nominal trajectory you're hearing right now.
Copy.
And into the vacuum of space. Now approaching 6 minutes into today's flight, about 2 minutes and 40 plus seconds remaining.
We are coming up on the entry burn, which is just under 30 seconds from now. And so you'll see the first stage's center Merlin engine reignite as it comes back down to Earth. And after that, we will be
Stage
approaching.
1 entry burn startup.
And there is the beginning of entry burn right there. Again, this is the second of 3 burns to return the booster to landing
Stage 1
zone
entry
1.
burn shutdown.
We just made it through entry burn.
And you're getting some great views, too, on that Stage 1's return to the Florida coastline. Again, landing at landing zone 1. While on the right-hand side, the second stage. And that Merlin vacuum engine continuing to propel Crew-11
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
into orbit. And
Dragon copies.
again, great. And now with about 2 minutes left of powered flight remaining, still receiving those great calls from the crew on the ground, and we're getting those relays from Crew-11 Commander Zena Cardman.
Stage 1 transonic.
We are now very quickly approaching the start of our landing burn, where 3 engines, engines 1, 5, and 9, will relight to help slow the vehicle down just before it touches down on landing zone 1. We should hopefully have some great tracking shots of that.
Stage 1 landing burn. Stage 2 FTS has saved. Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
A fantastic return there of the Stage 1 booster.
Just completing our final planned landing at LV.
Another
So a successful landing of the first stage booster as we continue to follow along with a little less now than 1 minute of powered flight of the second stage. And you'll hear the call out SECO, or second engine cutoff. Is a great view there, glowing orange with the Earth eclipsing right around that Merlin vacuum engine, and everything continuing to perform nominally for NASA
Stage 2
SpaceX
is in
Crew-11.
terminal guidance.
About 20 more seconds remaining of powered flight, and we'll get those call outs here shortly as everything continuing.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
And there's the great call out for Shannon we talked about earlier, that last abort zone if necessary, where they can land off the coast of Shannon, Ireland.
SECO.
There we just heard that good call out for SECO, or second engine cutoff. Coming up next will be stage separation.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
And that's the great call you wanted to hear.
Copies.
Launch escape system disarmed.
A good look inside the trunk there as you're looking for that separation, but you wanted to hear that nominal orbital insertion as Crew-11 now has reached microgravity.
So now we'll continue to coast for a little bit after SECO to allow rates and motion from the burn to settle out. Right now we have a great view on our screen of the Dragon heat shield, actually, which is made up of similar materials. And there we have that Dragon and stage 2 separation as we see Dragon coast into its orbit.
And a wonderful view there is Dragon Endeavour with Crew-11 on board. Safe
Dragon separation confirmed.
and safe and
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to ground. Zena, Mike, Kimiya, Oleg, welcome to orbit. On behalf of the entire Falcon team, we thank you for flying with Falcon today and wish you a great mission. Dragon will take you from here. Over to Launch Director for a few words.
On behalf of the launch team, it's been an absolute honor working with you towards launch today. We wish you well on the rest of your mission, and we will be awaiting your safe return. Godspeed Endeavour, Godspeed Crew-11, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
SpaceX Dragon, I have no emotion but joy right now. That was absolutely transcendent. Ride of a lifetime. Thank you. This has been an incredible honor. And it's my privilege now to pass us along to Mike with some additional words.
Boy, it's great to be back in orbit again. Thank you to SpaceX and NASA to get us here. What a ride. And Zena and Oleg, let me be the second to welcome you to your first orbit around beautiful planet Earth. Kimiya-san, Okayeri Nasai, welcome back. And to the ISS Expedition 73 team, the crew on board and our friends in MCC, we're on our way. Over to you, Kimiya-san.
Okay. Thank you very much for everything. スパシバワンボイショーへありがとうございます。日本の皆さん、私も10年ぶりに宇宙に帰ってきました。ISS でしっかりと任務を果たして一等星のように輝いて、日本の素晴らしいところを世界中の人に知っていただきたいと思います。ありがとうございます。Я передаю Олег-сан, пожалуйста.
Спасибо, Kimiya-san. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu. And спасибо всем. I'd like for the beginning to say thank you very much, Roscosmos, SpaceX, and NASA for this unique opportunity to be here with my great crew. Дорогие друзья, находясь на космическом корабле и облетая нашу родную планету, я испытываю неописуемое счастье и восторг. Хочу выразить слова благодарности всей нашей стране, Соединенным Штатам Америки и России за эту уникальную возможность, а также Роскосмосу. Хочу выразить слова благодарности своей школе, в которой я учился, номер 103 в городе Челябинске, выразить благодарность Краснодарскому высшему военному авиационному училищу летчиков и 22-му гвардейскому истребительному авиационному полку, а также сотрудникам Центра подготовки космонавтов, кто искренне верил и болел за эту идею отправить меня в космос. Обещаю выполнить все поставленные передо мной задачи на отлично. Ура!
Crew-11, we copy all of your words. We are very excited for you to have reached orbit, and we will now proceed with getting you to the International Space Station. You have approximately 3 minutes left in this ground station pass if you'd like to introduce your zero-G indicator.
Copy all, Tremaine. Thank you so much. We'll get out our 5th crew member here in just a moment. This zero-G indicator honors a shared memory with our lead trainer, Paul Weiss. For all the mentors and team members who got us here through sacrifice of time and dedication, I hope we made you proud today. Thank you so much.
Some great words there from all 4 members of Crew-11 and the astronauts and cosmonauts, all that cadre. They're well on their way to the final destination, which they have about a 16-hour ride to do so, and the phasing to ultimately the International Space Station, where they will turn that group into a full group of 11. So only fitting for Crew-11.
To summarize where we are with vehicle activation, we've had nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts. We're currently opening the nose cone.
We have just gotten confirmation that nose
Tracking
cone...
copies all. And we'll be ready for visors open with ECOS activation complete.
We just had great comms. That nose cone deploy is underway. The 6 hooks that hold the nose cone in place during the launch and ascent portions have to retract, and then the nose cone will be able to start to swing open and deploy. This uncovers a number of critical systems for the flight up to the space station, including the forward bulkhead thrusters and the docking hatch. And that call from the Corps here in Hawthorne indicating that we had good checkouts of the 12 Draco thrusters around the service section. 4 to go after we get the nose cone open and the ECLIS, the environmental control and life support system, activated inside Dragon. Soon the crew will be able to get their visors open and get out of their suits and settle in for their ride to the space station.
And we'll continue to get those call outs and hear about the nose cone again. Right now, currently opening, the hooks have been opening, and they were doing so during the great words from the crew. So we'll continue to monitor and waiting as the nose cone is deploying at the moment. And we'll wait for that final confirmation that it is open. And Crew-11 can continue its journey on as we await those last few moments here as nose cone deployment currently underway. And a great view of Dragon as it went up the eastern seaboard, and we had a view for a moment there as, again, passing over ground stations. And that's what provides us the great views that you've been seeing throughout today's broadcast inside the Dragon spacecraft. And there's a great look at that single Merlin vacuum engine that helped propel Crew-11 into orbit. And a great view of looking outward across the arch of the Earth.
Despite all of the weather issues we were having on ground leading up to launch, we seem to be having some really clear, amazing views in space today.
And now 16.5 minutes into flight, you're right. It was threading the needle, but they were able to get up and above the clouds. And even watching that ascent for stage one was wonderful to see them bypass those clouds that we were talking about a lot today. But again, as we await for further views inside the Dragon spacecraft and from their pursuit, Crew-11 to the International Space Station, we're now standing by for nose cone deploy as the team on the ground in Hawthorne, California, right there inside SpaceX Mission Control, actively monitoring all of those systems. You mentioned the ECLIS system inside, and once everything checks the appropriate boxes, then Crew-11 can doff or get out of their spacesuits, those new IVA suit for Mike Fincke and company. And then from there, it's going to be about a 16-hour ride to the International Space Station, and that's where they will link up with the orbiting laboratory and the 7 current residents on there. Crew 10 is currently on board, as well as Soyuz MS-27 with NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, and they'll bring that 7 to a team of 11, hopefully in the early morning hours coming up tomorrow. So we continue to stand by, approaching 18 minutes into today's flight.
We are just waiting confirmation that the nose cone is fully deployed, but all hooks are open. We should be hearing that confirmation hopefully within the next minute or so. And hopefully we'll also have great views of that nose cone deploy.
And that's a great view on the right-hand side of the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Texas, at NASA's Johnson Space Center, where we got updates throughout the day today from Sandra Jones as the International Space Station monitoring today's flight and the ascent of NASA SpaceX Crew-11. And they pulled goal earlier on as they're ready to receive Dragon. And we just received confirmation that the nose cone has completely opened and deployed. So great news as, again, all those checkouts continuing to happen for Crew-11 after a successful on-time liftoff today. And they were able to get past the clouds, the weather that we've been monitoring, and a successful first stage and second stage performance to propel them into orbit. Crew-11 is comprised of NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Mike Fincke, along with JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. And they are now safely in orbit following that approximately 9-minute ride after liftoff today from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew now, as mentioned, has a little bit about a 16-hour journey before they reach their destination.
Dragon SpaceX, we see a nominal nose cone opening at TCS and 4 bulkhead to Draco checkouts.
Great call out right there.
Dragon copies all. Good news.
And that's what we were waiting for there, was that call up to crew.
Looking forward in the timeline, you have your first burn up on your forward view. That's the phase burn in approximately 25 minutes. We will also be monitoring the stage 2 deorbit to give you the go for suit doffing, and we're expecting that at T plus 45 minutes.
Dragon copies. We'll be monitoring and T plus 45 approximately for suit doffing. We're with you in the timeline.
Great conversations there with the team on the ground, and there they are, Crew-11. Happy as can be in orbit now, and they have a 16-hour journey before they reach their destination, the International Space Station, as docking currently targeted for tomorrow morning, Saturday, August 2nd at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 a.m. Pacific, to the space-facing port of the station's Harmony module. Now, between now and then, Dragon will perform a series of burns as it catches up to the space station. And that first burn you heard him talking about is the phase burn, and that happens about 30 minutes or so from now. So we'll continue to monitor the Dragon spacecraft, or the teams on the ground will continue to monitor that first of a sequence of burns to help them stair-step their way up to the International Space Station.
Human spaceflight has come so far in the last 5 years with Dragon. In addition to flying people, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft also enables researchers the opportunity to fly critical science to orbit. So far, SpaceX and Dragon have carried more than 1,000 research experiments to and from low Earth orbit, both to the International Space Station and on our free flyer missions. From DNA sequencing to 3D printing, studies enabled by Dragon and the space station test a variety of technologies, systems, and materials that will be needed for future long-duration exploration missions. Every mission yields critical science, critical research, and learnings that help make life both on Earth and in space better. And flights just like today's help us continue to lay this foundation for our future among the stars and continue our mission to make life multiplanetary. We'll be signing off from SpaceX for now, so we're going to send you back over to Kennedy Space Center. But before we go, we want to thank NASA, Joseph, for entrusting us with today's mission, and thank you all for being with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Soumya, Ronnie, and the teams here at SpaceX. It was another phenomenal opportunity to catch NASA SpaceX Crew-11 in orbit today. And with that, we're going to say goodbye from here in Hawthorne until we pick back up with our docking coverage beginning at 2 a.m. Saturday, August 2nd, tomorrow, for that targeting docking to the space-facing port of the station's Harmony module at 3 a.m. Eastern. So for now, thank you for joining us, and we're going to toss it back over to Nick and Daryl at Kennedy Space Center to wrap up today's launch coverage.
Great job. If you're just joining us, welcome back to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Daryl Nail here with NASA astronaut Nick Hague. Just moments ago, we saw Crew-11 safely on orbit with the nose cone open, checkouts complete, and a few words from the crew as they settled into their new environment aboard Dragon. And Nick, watching him in that moment, floating free, you must feel good about your friends and colleagues successfully getting to orbit today.
Absolutely. You know, at the moment of liftoff, the tingle on the back of your neck, the chills, and watching them go into orbit, and then to hear them call down after they're there safely, the joy in their voice, and then the gratitude for the teams that got them there. Just you can't help but feel awesome right now. Everybody that's associated with this launch.
And now it comes, a completion for Zena Cardman, the commander who was part of Crew-9. Was pulled off that mission. You continued on. This is now her chance. Now she's in space. She had to wait a little bit longer, but now finally gets to fly.
Yeah, it's a full circle moment, and it's a thrill to be here and just be part of it.
We appreciate you from the very start saying that you wanted to document this moment with her. Here at the Kennedy Space Center, watching them go up at that moment. Mike Fincke has been around for a while. He's a veteran astronaut, but there's been quite a gap. He finally now, after 14 years, back up in space.
Yeah, talk about patience being a key quality of an astronaut. It's not just sitting strapped into a rocket for 2.5 hours prior to launch and not being able to move. It's, doing your job and waiting for your opportunity, and that might be a decade or more, and to take that time and to do so much with it while you're still waiting to launch into space, it just shows the character that he has. Incredible
character and incredible character is Mike. Well, quick story here. We want to tell you, when Zena Cardman was here and she did the co-host role for Crew-9 when you launched. After the launch broadcast was over, she pulled out a deck of cards and just offhandedly was like, oh, hey, I want to show you something. And she showed me this deck of cards. It was the Crew-9 deck of cards. And she had hand-drawn the portraitures of like each of the Crew-9 members,
Yeah.
which included you,
Yeah.
and she was on it, though she didn't get to fly. It was the card deck that you used when you played to get rid of your bad luck.
Yeah, in the suit-up room, yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, you hand drew these? I
Yeah.
was like super impressed. So, of course, fast forward to recently, you walk in the pre-production meeting and you're like, hey, Zena wants to have this deck of cards. It's the Crew-11 deck of cards. We want to show them to you now. And she redrew her
Yeah.
crew, and we want to show those to you. Hold that up.
She's an amazing artist.
All the crew members each got a face card. So she's on there, Oleg's on there, Mike and Kimiya. And here they are. She hand drew this. We have a close-up of this shot. We want to show you so you can get a real full appreciation. Hand-drawn portraitures by Zena Cardman, the commander. You talk about many talents. Just another talent in what appears to be just this extremely well-rounded astronaut and commander.
Oh, absolutely. Not all astronauts are created equal. I cannot do that. She is talented.
That's incredible. And, of course, they played with this deck of cards when they got rid of Zena's bad luck today.
Yeah, and it worked.
And it worked. Look at that weather. We were looking at the cloud just off to the south.
You know, the power of positive thinking.
Your positive thinking was like, perfect. All right, we're going to send it back out for one more interview with Tony. And in the meantime, you and I are going to play some high-low card for your next space assignment. See if I can win it from you. Tony, take it away.
Thanks, Daryl. Looking forward to who wins that game. Joining me is now Stephen Chan with the Commercial Crew program. Stephen, what an amazing launch and landing of Falcon's first stage. How you feeling?
That was amazing, Tony. To watch the Crew-11 Dragon flying up on the Falcon 9, it's incredible, to see that. On a personal note, Mike Fincke is a dear friend of the family, and it warms my heart to see him to go back to space station to work and live there. I am the external liaison for the Commercial Crew program, so it's my job to make sure that our external partners are coordinated and informed to support our missions, and those partners include Coast Guard, FAA, Air Force, Space Force, and other DoD partners. Today, the Coast Guard is out there making sure the waterway is safe, and FAA is clearing the waterway. So it is. I get to see how much work it goes behind the scenes to make sure our missions are successful, and I am looking forward to have the Crew-11 get on orbit and then come back safely with Crew-10.
Steve, you played a critical role in changing the splashdown locations for Dragon to the Pacific Ocean. Can you talk to us a little bit about your role in that and the significance in changing those splashdown locations?
Yes, the moving Dragon recovery to Pacific all had to do about the safety of the public, and the trunk debris. By going to the Pacific, we ensure that the trunk is entered over Pacific Ocean and have no risk at all to the public. So, and thanks to our external partners, we work with them to make sure that the Dragon can be recovered safely, and they can perform their important missions, like keeping the waterway safe, keeping the airspace safe, and then the DoD can perform their missions around California coast.
Speaking about all of those external partners that you have to work with, it took a huge effort to get this underway. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that worked?
Yes, so for our West Coast partners, the Dragon landing in the Pacific is a new challenge for them. And they have, as I mentioned earlier, they have their other national priorities. So we are very thankful to our partners and their leadership who recognize that Dragon is also a very important national priority. So we're very thankful to our Coast Guard, Navy, other DoD partners and FAA that help us make that happen. And I'm looking forward to work with them to bring Crew-10 home safely. They have SpaceX has successfully brought back 3 Dragon the last few months. And we are confident they can help us get there in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Steve. We just launched, but like you said, we now have the rest of the mission. We have to bring Crew-10 home. Can you tell us what are the next steps for you? Where will you be going next?
We'll be working with SpaceX and our government partners to make sure we look at those reentry opportunities and coordinate and inform each other, all the important activities. So it's just a lot of coordination, and we're thankful that our partner work with us on this national priority.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck on the rest of the mission. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you, Tony.
We'll send it back to Daryl and Nick.
All right, thank you so much, Tony. And certainly you can hear the emotion in people's voices, especially Stephen here. Just so proud of seeing Mike Fincke. He has touched a lot of people here at the Kennedy Space Center in his time working with everyone here throughout the Commercial Crew program.
Yeah, absolutely. He has had an impact.
And you had an impact on me. I lost to you for your next space assignment.
So we need to clear the record here because you tried to stack the deck and karma won out there because you dealt me the ace by accident. So I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes.
Thank you for being so truthful and honest. You know, is this show over yet? No, you know what? We're excited for you, Nick. We can't wait to see what you do next as well. You've brought so much experience and insight and knowledge to this show, and I know that you wanted from the very beginning, after you launched, you told me that you wanted to do this for Zena, for your friends, for your colleagues, for your team. And you're a stand-up guy telling us early on, like, hey, I'll be there and I'll do it. Thank you very much for that.
No, my pleasure.
Can you take one more social question before we bug out?
We didn't hit 8 yet, so yes.
Let's do it. One more social question. Let's see if we can get it fired up here. Yes, Aaron Anzar is the winner with, what is your best memory as an astronaut? Well, you can imagine there are so many memories that are created. I've listened to you for a couple days now.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to hear each and every one that you remember. But what would you put as the number one memory?
You know, the image, if I try to sum up my 12 years of doing this job, the image that kind of brings it all together in my mind is just another Friday night floating around the table in the Russian service module, having dinner with our playlist. It's an eclectic playlist of music that mixes in everybody's favorites. So you've got Russian traditional folk music and hard rock and American country western, and it's just the culture that the crew has built, and me trying to talk with my cosmonaut colleagues in broken Russian, and them talking to me in broken English, and we develop our own language, and we're sharing what's going on with our families, and birthdays and anniversaries. It's just life, and we've built that in space. And there's just so many unique aspects. Just how you're eating and people are floating around, that it's so normal. It becomes so normal to do that, and that's my hope, is that we can get more people to experience that normal living in space, but also that normal of bringing together people from around the globe and just getting to know each other.
Yeah, understanding each other, appreciating where we come from as different countries. What strikes me about that is a memory that you chose is you went on EVAs. You went outside the spacecraft, outside and saw the entire planet underneath your feet, but you pick a very human moment as the memory, a bonding moment among your crew that stands out as the number one. I'm sure there's a ton of great memories, but it was the human one at the end of the day.
I mean, you can spend all day in the cupola staring at the Earth, and it's an amazing view. But when a crewmate floats up and watches it with you, it's just that much more spectacular.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Nick Hague, NASA astronaut, and a brigadier general with the Space Force. Thank you so much for being here. You did a fantastic job. And with that, our coverage comes to a close. But the journey for Crew-11, well, it is just beginning. After a stunning launch from Kennedy Space Center and a successful ride to orbit, the crew is now on their way to the International Space Station. This is a shortened trip, 15.3 hours, with docking targeted for a Saturday, August 2nd, at approximately 3 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll pick back up, of course, with our coverage beginning at 2 a.m. Eastern Time on that same Saturday, tomorrow, for a targeted docking at that moment. And so with that, we want to just say thank you to everyone who was participating in this show today. If you want to follow along with the mission, Crew-11's journey to the space station, just by check in with our real-time mission audio. It will have the flight controllers communicating with the team. You can check that out. The QR code that's at the bottom of your screen now, you just pull out your phone and scan that. You can watch on your phone or watch on your TV with a streaming app. We'll pick back up live with broadcast coverage about 2 hours before docking right here on NASA Plus. Nick, thanks again. Really appreciate it, man. 2 launch attempts. I mean, you were fantastic. This is a long slog through the day, but it's wonderful to document seeing your friends go up to space.
Yeah, wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Absolutely. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for watching us get these astronauts to space. Continue to follow us as well, and make sure that you keep looking up. We are seeing the astronauts that are flying today, and once again, getting suited up. This is a tradition that happens before crew can leave the suit-up room. Crew-11 walking the hallway, ready to do. Walking outside before launch. Well, there's Zena giving a last wave with the window down. Crew-11 on the road to launch pad 39A. Well, there is our commander and our pilot looking up at their rocket. And here comes Mike and Zena, getting ready to get inside Dragon Endeavor. And here come our mission specialists right behind them, Oleg and Kimiya. And there go the seats, articulating upwards, putting the crew in launch position. And the closeout crew closes the hatch to Dragon Endeavor.
3, 2, 1, ignition, full power and liftoff. Go Falcon, go NASA, go Crew-11.
Together we rise as NASA's SpaceX Crew-11 heads up to the International Space Station.
Vehicles are pitching downrange.
1.7 million pounds of thrust.
Propulsion is nominal.
Propelling Falcon 9 as the vehicle pitching downrange and making its way up the East Coast, and will soon join Expedition 73 aboard the orbiting laboratory.